Continuing on from my last post, here about when I was around 4 to 5 years old. I am now 29 and I work as a security guard doing nights in the UK. The site I usually do my duty at is in the northwest of England, but I will not give the name of the site or specific area to keep my job secure. This is going to be a long-winded post, but I am confident that anybody interested in the paranormal will be satisfied. So, here it goes. So I was in the army at the time, when one of my closest friends landed this job first. He was always a very hardcore skeptic, but started to tell me that he was experiencing things that were weird and freaking him out sometimes. After the army, I went into a couple of random jobs whilst I got my momentum back in regular life and also got myself an SIA license. Eventually, my pal got shipped off to another site for the same customer, and I jumped at the opportunity to work in his place. My pal, let's call him Jason, kindly drove me to the site for my induction to meet the guard on duty that night. The guard on duty was a very down-to-earth man in his 50s, and after showing me the ropes, the whole 5 minutes, laugh out loud, he asked me what I thought about poltergeist. I told him briefly about some of the experiences I have had throughout my life, and his eyes lit up, which sparked a casual friendship ever since. Basically, he told me about 2 guards leaving in the past due to strange things happening at the site, and that every guard has experienced at least one thing there. He is a lot deeper into this stuff than I am, but it adds to his harmless charm, and we have shared many deep conversations about the subject. Saturday night during the Christmas holidays in 2018, I locked myself in for the first time and ready to spend the next 12 hours alone enjoying my own company and getting paid for it. Gaming laptop straight out, on whisper volume of course, and frequent heads up in case of intruders or van drivers coming to collect their personal vehicles. This place is quite creepy, looking as it is out in the sticks somewhat and surrounded by farmland. But I'm very used to cutting about in the dark in places similar from my time in the army, so it was just whatever to me. For the first few shifts, I just heard the odd strange noise, which quite frankly could have been anything from temperature expansion, contraction to wildlife. However, on the night prior to the staff returning to work for 2019, I had one of the most profound paranormal experiences of my life, which genuinely scared me. It was a 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. hourly patrol. I stepped off at about 3:30. As I put one foot out of the guard room door, a tiny stone whizzed around the guard room, bouncing off the metal lockers, desk, etc. At head to torso height, I am 6 foot tall. This didn't make any sense, but I shrugged it off and continued on my way. The first part of my patrol involved walking around the back of a 2-story medium-sized office building where there are lots of stone pebbles to walk on before coming out from the back of the offices and onto a relatively large car park, about 2/3 the size of a football field. As soon as I stepped foot on the tarmac, a pebble landed next to me, and I thought nothing of it. I could have easily kicked one up a bit with my steel-toe boots and not felt it. Whatever. I got halfway across the car park, and another landed just in front of me, as if it came from behind me. This is where I started to feel things weren't quite right, as the pebbles were way back by this point, and I would have felt it this time due to the added force of it. I continued, and at the end of the car park were a row of shipping containers on the left and a huge skip on the right. The patrol route takes me walking in between these for about 30 meters, and this is by far the creepiest part of the site, as it's so dark and dingy. This is where things begin to get intense. I was still walking towards this area, and roughly 20 meters away when another pebble hit the biffa skip about 5 to 6 feet high. In other words, I would have had to get a bit of a run up and put effort into booting a pebble hard enough to get it high enough to match the force it hit with. This really startled me, and I stood still and confused for about 30 seconds, looking all around myself, but there was nobody, and I was equipped with a 400 lumen heavy-duty torch, so I could see for quite a distance. Nobody whatsoever. I reluctantly carried on out of duty down the alley past the skip that had just been hit and the shipping containers to my left. I had gotten about 10 meters past the first shipping container when it sounded as if somebody ran up to it with a sledgehammer and gave it a massive whack. My backside almost swallowed my pants whole, and it took every ounce of courage to immediately run onto the car park and shine my torch in all directions. If this was a human, due to the layout of the site, they could not have gotten away in time unless they could contest Usain Bolt. And even that would be a stretch considering it probably took me 2 seconds to sprint there, if that. The guard who gave me the induction is as interested in this stuff that he told me to call him if anything like this happens, no matter the hour. So I continued to the center of the car park to get a full field of view of the site, but of course, nobody. Suddenly I heard coming from all directions, but confined to within the site, shortly followed by tiny stones constantly whizzing past my shins with a low trajectory similar to how one would throw skimming stones across a body of water. The thing is about these stones whizzing past me is that the direction they were coming from was a huge 3-story high warehouse with no windows or doors from my point of view. So these tiny stones were being thrown at me from unseen force for 100% certainty, as all that was there was a 3 stories of brick wall. Never once did any of them hit me, just whizzed by my legs left and right. Behind the warehouse is a river that gets quite choppy in winter, but even so the trajectory dictated that the stones were definitely being thrown from in front of me and not over the warehouse, which would be next to impossible. I rang the other guard, and he could immediately hear the racket going on. He told me to go by the river and call out to it. Now, despite having a few experiences sparsely throughout my life, I have never been interested in gauging with whatever the phenomenon is, but I decided to humor him. Anyway, all the while crapping my pants, I called out to it. Can't remember what I said, and everything immediately stopped and went silent. Nothing further happened that night, and the other guard said he's never known anybody to get terrorized quite that badly by it. Once the staff arrived, I spoke to one of the blokes managing the site, and he said he would check the CCTV footage for any issues. Interestingly, the next shift, a couple days later, the cleaner who used to be around for a couple hours after the staff leave called me into the office block to see a document printed out of an email. This was to my security firm about the events, but stated they could not see anybody or any stones on camera, but could see me doing an intense investigation and being violently startled a few times. Since then, I have had very sparse experiences such as door slamming, a field mop bucket moving 3 feet from the wall in front of my eyes, plates smashing in the canteen, very annoying, as security often gets the blame for this, understandably. Cutlery having a quick jangle in the canteen drawer, a loud sound of what can only be described as heavy cardboard boxes being dragged along the dusty warehouse floor and footsteps coming from the room above. A few months into the job, I also got another very close friend a job there who also in the Army prior and also a massive skeptic until now. He literally laughed at myself and Jason whilst we gave him his induction when we mentioned the strange stuff. Jason to this day references his cocky laugh as his attitude soon got set straight. So, a few nights into my other friend's, let's call him Scott, working there, I get woke up to a phone call at 1:30 a.m. and it is Scott with a trembly voice saying that somebody has just sprinted up the stairs, ran through the short corridor, and is currently stood outside the guard room door. I said, "Well, you're security guard. Do your job and see who it is." Of course, nobody was there, and nobody could be there due to coded doors. I haven't experienced anything paranormal there for a long time now. It seems to have weeks, months of calm followed by short bursts of activity. I have also since branched out and done all of the sites my company contracts with and never had an experience elsewhere besides one place to which I have a video evidence of it, but I'm reluctant to share, and even then I need permission from the guard who works that particular site. I have even worked at a number of derelict, creepy old mills with nothing strange going on. I have one more story about an experience in my teens for another time, and then that's all, folks. Hope you enjoyed.